Welcome to Double Fries, No Sluts, Wednesday evening, October 30th, Halloween Eve. Richie, I don't know if you've got your costume picked out or not for tomorrow night, but we are here to preview Florida State, North Carolina. Not really much spookier than FSU's 2024 football season, but here we are, preview presented by BetUS. We'll give Roback and Guthrie some love as well, of course. But Richie, how's your week been so far?
Good, and I do have my costume ready. I bought it right after Scotty Scheffler got arrested. I have my orange jumpsuit. I'll have a golf club and a Nike hat. I am ready to roll.
I like it. I'm not dressing up. So this is year a million in a row. I feel like maybe like 10, maybe like when Kara and I first got married or something, we went to a Halloween party and I dressed up, but even that was just like the roaring 20s. So I just put a suit on. Like it wasn't even anything crazy, but, the kids are doing like the big kids are doing Aladdin and Jasmine, and Lincoln wants to be a firefighter. So I think that's,
Nice.
we got him a genie costume, but he wants to be a firefighter. Like dude can do whatever he wants. He's the toughest kid. He's the toughest person in our family. So it's hard to tell him no. Florida State and North Carolina this weekend, though, our preview presented by Guthrie's. You can visit all three of their locations in Tallahassee, 1818 West Tennessee, 2550 North Monroe, and then, of course, 2870 Appalachia Parkway. We appreciate Guthrie's for their support. Richie, let's get into this thing. Florida State and North Carolina. This might be a quicker one. This might not be like our longest preview ever, but that's fine. We don't have to be super long considering, what this season has been like, but we will try and get into it a little bit, try and talk about this and then get on with our evenings. But an underdog yet again. UNC opened up as I think between 2 and 3. It's bounced around up to 3, down to 2, somewhere in there. Basically, I don't think Vegas really knows what they want to do here. I just think they think Florida State certainly cannot find a way to win to save their lives. And so making UNC a favorite here kind of makes sense. We'll talk about this. We'll just do it now. We'll talk more about the game in a minute, but I like him, but we can call a spade. Mike Norvell has broken a lot of records at FSU, and never losing to Duke is one of them. He's probably lucky that Willie didn't make a bowl that one year. That way, the bowl streak wasn't Mike Norvell's fault. Fortunately, wouldn't be another thing. The only coach to have 3 0-3 seasons in their first 5. Only coach to do a lot of things. Like we talked about Duke last week. Mac Brown is 0-11 against Florida State, and it doesn't. I don't know that one really matters very much. I don't think people are going to remember Mac Brown was 0-11 and he got you in his last year or whatever. I've not confirmed that that's Mac's last year, but it wouldn't surprise me. And this is not a good North Carolina team. This would be another bad piece of history that Mike is making if Florida State loses this weekend, in my opinion.
Yeah, it would be really bad because, to your point, TJ, they're not a good team. I know James Madison is solid, given where they've come from, but they hung 70 on North Carolina last month. This is a bad North Carolina defense. If you cannot break the 24-point mark this week, then I don't even know if you'll do it against Charleston Southern. It's crazy. We only have 4 of these previews left, including tonight. But yeah, it's just Mike Norvell had a great 2-year run with the 10-3 and the 13-1, but he had the loss to Jacksonville State, right? Like the worst loss in program history. Then he lost to Duke. If he loses to Mac Brown in North Carolina, after he beat them in the COVID year when they were number 5 in the country, you cannot lose to this team right now. You just cannot. And we'll talk predictions at the end of the show, but yeah, it's just he's making a lot of history that you do not want to be making as the Florida State head coach.
Yeah, not really a lot of good history. 13-0, I believe that was only the 3rd undefeated regular season. And so that was some good history. There's no doubt. But
Florida's never done. So
yeah, you are quickly running out of that meaning anything. We are quickly getting to the point where people have all but forgotten about 13-0. And how could you blame them? After this, This is I've never seen, and not to belabor a point, but I've never seen a fall off like this ever. And so, and anyway, we'll we'll maybe leave that alone and talk about UNC. UNC blew out UVA last week. I actually thought UVA had a really good chance in that game. UVA played Clemson somewhat tough the week before on the road, and UNC just absolutely came out and dog walked them. It wasn't even close. That James Madison game that you mentioned, though, like they did. They scored 70 points on them in September. UNC playing a little bit better now, but man, just a horrid defense. But an offense that literally cannot get out of its own way. Like, I mean, if I was to tell you right now that we scored less than 20, I mean, you wouldn't be shocked by that at this point, would you?
No, absolutely not.
As bad as they are, like our offense, I think is worse. Like, yeah, it is worse. UNC doesn't, we're the only team in the country that's not gone over 21 points this year in the FBS. 133 other teams have gone over 21. We have not done that once. And then obviously we haven't gone over 16 again on U.S. soil, which I continue to have to say. It's crazy how bad the offense was. I talked with Gabby Urrutia of Inside the U this morning, and we were talking about how boring the Miami game was. That wasn't even one of our complaints. We spent over an hour talking about the Miami game on Sunday. That game was so boring. And I even asked him, like, you were on the winning side. Like, was it still boring to you? And he was like, yeah, the game was incredibly boring. Like, it was never exciting. The recruits were just up walking around. Like, it wasn't even an exciting game. This one may be a little more exciting, I guess, but for a rivalry game to be that bad is pretty shocking.
Yeah, no, it's, and when Miami went up 14-0, we talked about this on Sunday, so we won't spend a whole lot of time on it. But you knew the game was over because we were scoring more than, 14 points if we're lucky. And, Miami obviously tagged on to that a little bit. But yeah, every game this season has been pretty boring. I guess that Georgia Tech game that we were at in Dublin had a little excitement to it because we still didn't know that this team was this bad. And, it came right down to the wire with a field goal as time expired. But yeah, it's just every game has been boring. This offense just does not, even the Cal game, the one win we have this year, that was a boring game as well. Sure. And you and I and everyone in the chat and watching live, guys, please like and subscribe. Helps other people find the show. We're all going to watch these last 4 games just because we are, I don't know if we just want to, torture ourselves or what it is. But, we talk about fanatics, fans, that's exactly what we are. So we will continue to watch. TJ and I will continue to show up every Wednesday and Sunday. But yeah, it's just been a boring season. And, I'm not even to the point somehow. I guess I just love the self-torture. I don't want the season to end. I really don't. I like 4 games left. We only have 4 Saturdays left. We know the bowl game is off the table officially now. And then we have to wait until next September when we open up against, that's right, Alabama. That'll be fun.
All right, so it's a good thing we don't always agree on this show. I am in complete disagreement. I cannot wait for this season to be over. There is no part of me that's like trying to hold on to anything. Again, I think it is because it's really not an enjoyable product to watch. If we were just, even during the Willie years and 3 and 6 in 2020 during the COVID year, nobody's in the stands. Like, they were still somewhat enjoyable to watch. They were getting blown out then, but their offense wasn't like inept. It truly is just like, watch this offense be absolutely putrid. And Miami doesn't even have a good defense. We were talking about this last week. They had given up like 45, 38, and 40. Like, they were not good. Like 3 weeks in a row against ACC competition. And, man, if there was something that could get them off of their slow streak, it was Florida State's offense, which again scored 1 touchdown thanks to a really long kind of crazy 4th down and 1, and then their other score against the backups, to kind of make the game look a little bit better than it did. But yeah, so taking us back to Florida State's offense against their defense is just not great. They do have some really good edge rushers we'll talk about in a minute, but other than that, man, they are very susceptible to give up a lot of points. And I don't have enough faith in Florida State's offense to move the ball consistently, or the defense to get turnovers and give them short fields to where I think that Florida State could score over 20 points. Like, I'd be shocked. Yeah, shocked is the right word if Florida State scored over 20 points in this game. Now, could they win this game 17-14 because the defense just balls out? Maybe. I don't know. But to me, I'd be shocked. Like, I wonder what it is. Like, I wonder and I'll look at it while we're talking about it, but I'll look up BetUS right now, like what the over-under is on Florida State points. And if it's over 21, like I'm taking the under, like without a doubt. Like, I'm not even thinking about that. I'm taking the under there. And so, I mean, what? I mean, your offense is that bad to where they're setting over-unders on like 20 points. I mean, that's just insane, you know? They don't, it's not set yet, so I can't find it. But I mean, I'll tell you what it's going to be. The over-under for the game is what? Richie, do you have that? Over-under for the game is 50, and they've got them as a 3-point favorite, so, or 2.5. So yeah, they actually do have it. They have it like
21. Yeah.
Yeah, they have it like 23, 28, you know, 20 or 23, 28, 20, 23, 27. Yeah, I'll take the under. I'll take the under on that. So,
Yeah.
I just,
So
I have a hard time seeing our offense being able to get up and get going that much.
Yeah, and to your point, you really need the defense to step up and create a turnover. And why the defense has been far from the problem this year, because they've been solid, they haven't been great. Obviously, third and long has been an issue pretty much all year, except for one or two games. But I believe it. Correct me if I'm wrong. We only have 3 takeaways this year through 8 games. That's just in the it. There was a really good thread from I forget who it was, from Sports Illustrated or ESPN, about how turnover luck happens, and there's some luck that takes into place. But when your defense allows an offense to be conservative, because your offense is so inept and incompetent that they know, listen, we just need to grind it out and we'll win the game, because we've yet to put pressure on a single offense this year to have to go out and try and make plays. They are just going, we'll go down by down and we'll make it through. And we know their offense cannot do anything. Speaking of Florida State's offense this year, and what a joy to be in. We're in a college football 25 dynasty, TJ. And if I was playing an offense who I knew couldn't score, yeah, I'm probably going to run the ball on first and second down and maybe run a halfback screen on third. Because why would I need to feel the pressure to take a deep shot or anything? Teams don't feel the need for that. So You've not given up a bunch of explosive plays outside that run against Duke in the third quarter. That was just maddening. I think it was Starr who went for 50-something yards. But you've not had to, opposing teams have not felt any pressure to, press themselves offensively. They're like, well, we'll just run it out, because we know if we get to 20 points, we're going to win. And that's kind of where we're at right now.
Yeah, the magic number for beating Florida State is just so much lower than I think you could have ever imagined that it would be this year. It's laughably low, and so UNC's offense, I don't even know how good they really need to be. It's really about, can Florida State score anything to kind of make the game competitive. So, all right, you wrote this, and so we'll continue to kind of move along. Omarian Hampton, this is certainly another area of concern for this game. And again, I don't know how much people are truly concerned, because at this point, the team kind of is what it is. Omarian Hampton is maybe the best running back in the league after you just had 2 guys like absolutely run over you for anything and everything they wanted. Now, I don't think that UNC's offensive line is quite like Miami's, but I do think that Hampton is a guy that could absolutely be great. Already has over 1,000 yards. He's gone triple digits every game but one, you wrote here. And so, the concern level around trying to slow him down is fairly high on my end too.
Yeah, no, he is a stud. He's every game he's been over 100 yards, except for Charlotte when he only had 11 carries, right? Because they didn't need him in that game. But he's also a workhorse. He's had 29 carries, 30 carries, 26 carries. They will feed him the ball. They are not a pass-heavy team. They want to run it, and they have a one-man show at running back. And I think it could be an issue for Florida State come Saturday. If you slow him down, which is possible, no one said you can't stop the run. If you slow him down, I think Florida State has a very real chance to win this game, and dare I say, somewhat comfortably. But he is a very good running back. Again, over 1,000 yards in just 8 games already. He's a stud, man. He really is. Someone that was kind of a little off the radar heading into the season, but has just shown up every single week. He's not had one single off week yet this season. Again, the only game he did not get 200 yards, I think he had like 70 something on 11 carries, so almost 7 yards a carry against Charlotte. But again, he only ran the ball 11 times. This guy, If he goes off on Saturday, it's night for Florida State.
Well, good news for you, Richie, that, that's, probably what's coming. So the way that we've played defensively, or bad news, I guess, but 29 offense in S&P plus. So an offense that is pretty good. They put up points even against that James Madison game where they gave up 1 billion points. They certainly were. Yeah, they were pretty offensive, and that's what worries me. If I asked you what you thought like our chances of getting to 20 were, well, what do you think our chances of getting to 30 are? Like
Zero.
Zero on that side, right? So quarterback Jacoby Criswell, pretty average, not necessarily a running threat, which maybe helps Florida State out a little bit. Just an average throw or two, 57% completion, although Florida State might kill for that this year. But somebody that I think you need to – I think the game plan needs to be to let him – if he can beat you, let him do it, right? It needs to be the anti-Miami. The Miami game plan was to take Cam Ward away and put your guys out on islands, and your defensive backs played really well and, held Cam to his worst game of the year. And so good job on that. You need to trust your corners in this game and load the box and say, like, Doak, you're not going to run for 150 yards on us. And, we'll see if, I'm not a huge fan of our defensive coordinator. We'll see if he's smart enough to do that or not. We'll probably play 5 guys in the box and let him run for 150. But if I was getting paid millions of dollars to coach defense, that's probably what I would try and stress. I don't think they're a great passing team. And so I would have them try and beat you throwing the ball. And if they do, then you tip your hat and say, good job. But, we'll see if our defensive coordinator has any kind of wherewithal to get that done this weekend.
Yeah, no, we'll see. And I think that's what you want to do. Do not let Hampton beat you by just pounding it down, even if it's just, I think he's averaging 5.4, 5.6 yards to carry on the year. Don't even let him get 4 yards to carry. Like you said, they stack the box and just make sure that UNC's ground attack does not beat you. Force him to throw the ball and see what happens. They have one really good deep threat, J.J. Jones, and I think he's the one. He's averaging 19 yards catch right now. He's the one guy you got to keep an eye on. But I do think your secondary is talented enough and good enough that if you're going to play man, you can stop it. Like you can at least slow him down a little bit. But yeah, I'm in complete agreement, and we haven't agreed a lot lately, like you said. But don't let them just run it down your throat. Make them throw the ball. Make Criswell be a true quarterback, because I don't think he's capable of standing in the pocket and delivering dime after dime after dime. Now, with an Adam Fuller defense, I don't know. That could be possible. But I think that's kind of your game plan, and it'll be interesting. I'm really happy it's a 3:30 game, so I don't have to stay up till midnight watching this team again.
Dude, I just stay up till midnight watching. Oh, yeah, well, I'm going to the game anyway, so I guess it doesn't really matter. But I just stay up till midnight watching football so that I can get the bad taste of Florida State out of my mouth after we're done playing.
I love doing this week.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so the early game is great for me. So they've got a linebacker, Power Echols, has 54 tackles. They're the 55th ranked defense. Again, they're not a great defense, but they have 2 defensive linemen that led in, they were in the top 6 in pressure in all of college football. And it's Camion Rucker and Bo Atkinson. They were tied for really first and second. Another kid had 9, and then they had 7 and 6 respectively. And so defensive ends that can certainly get after the quarterback. I think Robert Scott, as much crap as I've kind of given the staff and him for him even being on scholarship at this point, he was your highest graded PFF player on the weekend. And so shout out to him and Omar Graham, who would have seen that coming. If the offensive line can hold up, which I didn't think they were terrible against Miami, against a really good defensive line. If the offensive line can hold up and be better than Virginia's was, then maybe you have a little better shot. But man, I just have no confidence in the offense to move anything. We can talk all that we want about Virginia's defense, but did you see the screenshot today where, you got the running back that's got like 16 feet of space and the hole wide open and somehow loses yardage on it? Like, it's just, I just have, at this point, like it's the coaches, it's the players, it's the who knows, man. Like, but I have no confidence in the offense being able to move the ball consistently at all. You know, how much can Mike even dial up? I don't know, but there's if the guys execute, maybe we'll see. We talked a little bit about this the other day, though. You'd start Luke here? I'd start Luke. I don't think I'd think about it.
Absolutely start Luke. I was a little surprised that there wasn't even an or on the depth chart when it came to Brock and Luke. I don't think Brock's the guy, and I tweeted this out and, got mixed reactions, but, most people seem to agree, one of those guys, hopefully not both, are going to transfer after the season. So I'd be shocked if they both stayed, especially after spring. And, I think that Luke is your future right now. Based on the quarterbacks you have currently on the roster, I think Luke is the guy. I like Brock Glenn a lot. I think he can be a very good quarterback somewhere else. I just think, maybe, I don't know if he was thrown into the fire too early here at Florida State, where he might have been ruined and he just needs a fresh start. Like we've seen that, other quarterbacks at other universities end up, not doing great. Then they transfer and they turn into, all conference type players. I just think Luke is who you need to run with. And I'm really frustrated, TJ, with Mike Norvell for not being decisive on this. Like either ride with Brock or ride with Luke. Don't just go back and forth, back and forth. That doesn't work. Again, if you have two quarterbacks, you don't have one quarterback. Make a decision. You're the head coach. You're making $10 million a year. Find out who your quarterback is and roll with him through the good and the bad. Don't keep going back and forth because you just frustrate both quarterbacks. You frustrate their families who are now talking to other schools, and you frustrate the entire offensive personnel for like, who the heck is going to be our quarterback this next drive? It's just so frustrating, and I think it should be Luke, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'll say this. I don't really care about the no or on the depth chart. I think depth charts are largely made up. Like I was told by pretty good sources last week that Darius Washington and Cam Davis weren't playing. And then I reported that through the week. And then they showed up on the depth chart. And then like right before the game, Mike said, oh, they're not playing. So I think Mike just tries to keep some of that stuff close to the vest. So I don't really care about the depth chart side of it as much because I don't think that that's going to determine it. I think he's just going to leave the depth chart the way that it is for the rest of the year. And then, if somebody's out for the season, he may take them off. But Luke could start, even though that said Brock. DJ, it said DJ the week that I told everybody again on Monday, I was told that DJ would be out for the Clemson game and would not play. And, tweeted that and said that on Monday. DJ was still the starter at that point. And then that didn't start coming out until about Thursday, Friday is when some of the national guys caught up with what we had reported. So shout out to Double Fries No Slaw for nailing both those. I'll take a victory lap here since we haven't had any real ones on the field. Hey, speaking of real ones on the field, I saw a tweet today that broke down Florida State's season and, what their grade was. And it said like worst loss, this, that, and the other. It said best win. And my buddy Cap 561 Cap said, how did they come up with, like, what was the formula to figure out what the best win was? Which I thought was
only one of them.
Yeah, pretty easy. So, yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I think I'd start Luke too. I don't think it'd really be a question. I'd probably give Luke the rest of like the whole game, because why not? Now, if he if he pulls a Brock and has 3 straight turnovers, I'm okay like sitting him to like try and clear his head a little bit, putting him back in later, seeing if Brock can get something going. Because I do think just in case Brock is the guy for the future, you need to find that out. I don't think he is. I think it'll end up being Luke, but if I don't know that I'd put him out there on a 4th straight drive if he started with 3 straight turnovers, which I think most people would be fine with. You probably need to switch up there and maybe go back to him a little bit later. But yeah, this would be Luke's game to me. I'd want to see what he looks like as the starter. And I talked about that on Sunday and probably don't need to go into that whole rant again. So, hey, let's give Roback some love, Richie. And then I wanted to bring something else up and then we'll get into a pick 6 and we'll get out of here. So we won't be here super long tonight, but you can go ahead and give Roback some love here.
Yeah, I definitely want to, show some love to Roback for partnering with us this season, RHOBACK.com. They released a bunch of collegiate gear for any school, Florida State. I don't think they have Miami, but, they have a ton of good gear. I'm actually wearing the Husky Performance Polo right now. TJ's got it right there on the screen. Use promo code DFNS20 for 20% off any first-time purchase. That's DFNS20 2020 at rowback.com, RHOBACK.com. Honestly, polos, hoodies, joggers, shorts, uh, you name it, quarter zips. They have everything, and they are all so comfortable. Some of the best gear that I have. And, again, I've been saying it. I'm going to say it the rest of the season. Just because your team sucks doesn't mean your outfit has to suck on Saturdays. So go buy some Rowback FSU gear and use our promo code DFNS20.
All right. Richie, I don't know if you think this is a big deal or not. I do want to get your take. Did you think it was a big deal that Mike Norvell didn't wear a Florida State anything to the press conference on Monday? I saw people commenting on that. Like he just wore what do you call that? Not like a checkered shirt. I forget what you call that. A flannel type shirt. Yeah. And it didn't have like an FSU logo or anything on it. Do you think that's a big deal?
No, that doesn't.
It's the first time I've ever, I will say, sorry to interrupt you. First time I've ever seen it. I've never seen it while he's been the coach at Florida State.
Yeah. I mean, when you put it that way, it's a little interesting because, people are going to put things together. But, when I was in school and when Jimbo took over, I'd interview him every single week at his Monday press conference because they had the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator. So you'd have Jimbo, then Mickey. And, Jimbo would rarely wear Florida State gear actually back then. So it wasn't a huge deal to me, but I could see why people would make a topic out of it because he has wore Florida State attire every single press conference since he's been here. And for him to not out of nowhere, again, for me, it's not a huge deal, but I definitely get why people would say, hey, this is a story.
Yeah, no, it's definitely strange when you look at it like in this context of it being the only time ever. If he did that regularly, you'd be like, oh, no big deal. Most coaches, like I went and looked at some other press conference. Most coaches wear now I will say it was garnet. Like at least it was garnet. At least it wasn't like orange or something crazy or like baby blue on UNC week. But it was, I don't know, something different.
It was interesting. I'll give you that.
This? What about the fact, now I think I brought this up a couple of weeks ago, but it has continued. What about the fact that, so they used to stream the press conferences after games on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. They've stopped streaming them, and they've stopped streaming them on any of the three. And now they are just uploading them to YouTube like a few hours later. As instead of a live stream, like we're on a live stream right now, they're just uploading it as a video a few hours later. They've done that home. They've done that away. They've done that different places. For the Duke game, they never even ended up uploading one. And not only that, they've turned all comments off on both that and anything else they end up posting. What are your thoughts on that?
I think that's coward behavior. Like I just don't understand it. Everyone knows Florida State is not a good team this year. Like we are trash. That's everyone knows that. Anyone who's watching this and has watched Florida State knows this is not a good team. But the fact, and I'm more upset, TJ, to your point, which you brought up weeks ago, that they just completely stopped doing cinematic recaps. That was such a huge success last year. And yeah, it's easy when you're 13-0, but keep doing it even when you're 1-7. You're about to be 1-8 probably. We'll see. But yeah, it's just, it just makes us look soft, in my opinion. Like, what are we doing here? Stand by your team. As I said on Twitter yesterday, continue to give to the boosters, continue to give to the battle's end, and support this team, as frustrating as it may be. But yeah, for them to just no longer live stream it and to turn the comments off, and half their tweets, the comments are turned off, it just looks so soft, in my opinion, that it's almost embarrassing for me as a diehard Florida State fan.
Yeah, it's I remember when we did the segment on Trey and his rant of how you should still support, but you very much should also speak out. And you should let them know your frustration. And as a supporter who donates time and energy and money and all these other things, you absolutely should have a voice and you should speak out about how bad things are. And I also understand that, like, the worst of the worst exists on social media. And so like people in the YouTube comments are never going to be nice, but like to silence your fan base. And then you talk about the cinematics. Like, I don't know that I could keep watching the cinematics at this point of the year, but, I hope those people are making recruiting calls. Like, I hope those people who have salaries to like make content around FSU are doing something, because they're certainly not reading YouTube comments or making content for the Noles. I remember in 2022, we made cinematics for all 3 losses, Clemson, NC State, and Wake Forest. We obviously made a cinematic for the loss against Georgia last year when you lost by 60. And so, yeah, it's interesting to me that they're not doing that. Again, I don't love turning the YouTube comments off either. I don't love that you suck. And so you're just like, we're not going to stream these things anymore. We're going to limit how much we're putting ourselves out there because of how bad the team is. Like, where's the accountability? Where's the, I sound like the guy, right? Where's the loyalty, right? Or where's the accountability, and to try and limit the fans' voice. And I mean, it's funny to me that they've taken it off of Facebook. They've taken it off of Twitter. They're not live streaming it anymore so that people can't comment during the thing, and they're turning the comments off. I don't know. Just seems, it's interesting to me. Tie that in with your boy out there wearing a non-FSU shirt, and we now have a segment to whine and complain about. We've complained about the team enough. Now we need to complain about social media. But no, I do think it's interesting. It's interesting. You preach like the standard is the standard, and how you do everything is how you do anything, and all these things, and then you turn off YouTube comments because you can't take the heat because of the product you put on the field. The fans are certainly not responsible for this, right? The YouTube commenters are not the ones that assembled the roster or call the plays. So anyway, somewhat interesting to me that is the move that they're making. But also interesting to me is some lines that we're going to pick right now. Great segue there. You can go to BetUS right now if you'd like to and bet on any of these lines that we're going to talk about. You can use the code YouTube150. That's YouTube150 to get a 150% bonus on your first deposit. You can get 125 on your next 2. All of that up to $2,000. Again, you can bet on any of these games we're going to talk about. You can bet on the World Series. You can bet on table tennis at 2 a.m. Whatever you're looking for, they've got you covered. Again, 150% on your first deposit, 125 on your next 2, and all of that up to $2,000. We appreciate BetUS for their support. Richie, our pick 6. There is some good football. I'm a little upset at myself for going to the game this weekend, but there is some good football otherwise. The always overrated Penn State Nittany Lions are a 3.5-point dog to Ohio State. I like Ohio State to cover here because Penn State never wins the big game. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, I'm like, so I grew up, around the same time as you, and anyone who's my age, mid 30s, early 40s, the biggest game of the week was always at noon on ABC. Like, that was the game of the week. There was no, 8 p.m. ESPN or whatever. This is the biggest game of the week. I'm glad that it's at noon because it's kind of a throwback for me. I don't know if it's a whiteout or not, but yeah, James Franklin just does not win big games. He does not beat Michigan. He does not beat Ohio State. 3.5. The hook has me a little leery, but I agree with you. I think Ohio State wins this one pretty. I think they win by a touchdown or more.
Duke at Miami. Miami is a 20.5-point favorite.
I'm going to take Duke here. I think, Miami, they kind of sputtered a little bit offensively. They should have scored way more than 34 points last week. It's not a great Florida State defense. It's a talented Florida State defense, but they're just not great. Maybe some would say a lack of coordination, but I'm going to take Duke to cover it here.
Oh, I kind of like Miami here, but 20.5 is a ton. Yeah, I'll just disagree with you. Like, we keep track of these anyway. I'll disagree with you, and I'll say Miami covers. I think Duke keeps it relatively close. Miami gets a late touchdown to backdoor cover it. So, yeah, give me the Canes in that one. Oregon at Michigan, 14.5 points for Oregon. I do hate the hook in that one, but I also think Michigan is just terrible, and I think Oregon wants style points at this point. So, yeah, give me the Ducks in this one, even in the big house.
Michigan's not good. Oregon is good. Oregon's going to cover this and then some.
World's largest outdoor cocktail party. UGA is a 3-touchdown favorite. It's actually 16.5 you have here. But essentially 3 touchdowns. What do you think about this one?
I like DJ Lagway. I'm gonna get in trouble on this show for saying that. I like DJ Lagway. I think Georgia wins, but it's going to be a lot more uncomfortable than Georgia would like it to be. I'm going to take Florida to cover this.
I think UGA covers. I think UGA. Yeah, I like Lagway a lot too. I just think that what he was really good at, his numbers, his grades have been really, really good with the deep ball. I think UGA limits that, and I think he'll be a little more mistake prone in the middle of the field. So I like UGA to cover this. Not necessarily like a blowout, like 40 or something, but I think they win by 17 to 20 ish. I think that sounds about right. A&M is a 2.5 point favorite. They're the only undefeated team in the SEC in conference play. That is. A&M's a 2.5 point favorite at South Carolina.
Yeah, and that's crazy because A&M, they're highly ranked, and South Carolina is not. Bryce Williams Stadium is a tough place to play. I'm going to take South Carolina outright. I'll take the money line on this one.
I agree. I hate to agree with that, but yeah, I do. I think they win straight up. Give me South Carolina. I'll take South Carolina by a touchdown. So, and then the last one, Pitt at SMU. SMU's a 7.5 point favorite at home. What do you think about this one?
I think this is a really intriguing game because you have Miami, Pitt, and SMU all undefeated in ACC play right now.
And Clemson. Yeah.
In Clemson, yeah, to where you could have a really crazy scenario at the end of the season to see who ends up in Charlotte. I'm going to take Pitt. I like SMU. I know they took us to behind the woodshed and did whatever they did to us. That's fine. But I'm taking Pitt. I'm not saying money line, but I like this 7.5. That hook is really attractive. Give me Pitt.
I actually like Pitt on this too, and because of that, I'm going to take SMU. Like, this is one where I think I'm wrong about it. Like, Pitt just seems like such the obvious pick that I'm like, well, how could they not keep it there? So that I think there's like, I'm either going to psych myself out or be the smartest man in the room. But yeah, I'll take SMU on this one. That 7, I wish it would come down by half a point though. Although I guess it doesn't matter. We've already made the pick at this point. So, all right. Harlan's not with us tonight. He had some other stuff going on. He's got 25-21 FSU. I don't know why he keeps picking us, but there we go. What do you got, Richie, for this game on Saturday at 3:30 in Doak?
I think we're just breaking all sorts of records. I think Mac Brown finally gets it done. I think it's his last year. I'm going to take North Carolina 24, Florida State 17.
Yeah, I'm somewhat similar. I don't have faith in this offense to be able to move until they finally do it, and so because of that, I'll say that Florida State gets to, I'll say they get to 14 like they've continued to do, and actually I'll go weird with it. I'll go 16, so they'll tie their season.
We had that like a couple times this year.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe they go for 2
just
at some
a weird
point.
Team. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe they go for 2 and miss it or something. I don't know. But I'll go 17-24. Like 17-24. They end up winning by about a touchdown. Defense does plenty. A bad FSU mistake gives UNC a short field. And
so do we have the same score prediction here?
Did you say 24-16?
I said 17-24.
All right, I'll go a little higher. 28-16.
Noles
don't even keep it within a touchdown. 28-16. Yeah, I don't know. Their offense is pretty good. I don't have a lot of faith in the defense. So, yeah, 28-16 is what it is. All right. That's all I got for this week. I can't, thanking the Lord that we only have 3 more of these previews to do. And, I did see something today that said, like, Florida State's APR was, like, incredibly high. And so if they did win their last 4 games, they actually probably would make it to a bowl at 5-7, which would be, like, the funniest possible result of all time. I'm in no way under any kind of delusion to think that could happen. I think they lose 3 more games this year and beat Charleston Southern. But it would be absolutely hilarious if that ended up happening and ended up being the way they went to a bowl. So, all right, Richie, I don't have anything else. Any shout-outs before we get out of here?
Yeah, shout out Harlan for showing up at the last minute. What's up, Harlan?
Yeah, I have no shout-outs. I have no joy in my life. I have no shout-outs. Go Dodgers, just to get rid of that team from New York. So, all right, we'll be back on probably not till Sunday to break this all down. If you're in Tallahassee this weekend, hit me up. taking up the fam. So should be a good time. Regardless, appreciate you guys for tuning in. Appreciate BetUS, Roback, and Guthrie's for their support. And we'll talk to you guys soon. Go Noles.
Go Noles.